Alright, y'all, what is up? It is Oliver. So, today we're talking about some cool stuff. Let me pause the music. Just give me a second. Fucking vibing right now. Alright, y'all. So, welcome back to the stream. Today we're going to be covering some interesting topics. I found, let me see if I can show it to you. I found this, I know, super fascinating just looking at this title and seeing open data and then being like, wow, this looks so interesting, Oliver. Thanks. I'm so excited. Okay, you don't have to hide your enthusiasm so well. Basically, what I want to do, I want to see how good ChatGPT is at this whole open data and see if it can help me program some data visualization, because I am personally curious. The other day, I saw this thing. Let me see if I can find it. Toronto photo. I was cycling past one of these bad boys, this bicycle counter, and I thought this was super cool. You can see like how many cyclists there were this year today, and when I passed it recently, there were like 200,000 cyclists this year, and at the time when I passed, which I think was like 4 p.m. or something, there's like over 1,000 that day. So if it's like 1,000 a day and there's like 200 days passed in the year so far, then you can see we get to 200,000, with more in the summer and less in the winter kind of thing. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I was like, damn, that's sick. And then it got me wondering, well, if this is how many people are cycling past Bloor Street, how many people are driving past Bloor Street? And I went down the rabbit hole and I found this thing, which is a bunch of data that I have no idea how to use. So what I'm going to do is open up a couple of AI tools that I know about that might be able to help us out here. This one's going to ask me to log in probably. So this one is actually someone that I have worked with before on the channel, which is pretty cool. But they built this spreadsheet that has Claude integrated into it, and it can do some really cool stuff, honestly. And I'm not getting paid to show this a second time. I just think it's pretty cool. Maybe I should ask them to pay me again. But yeah, I really like this product, so I'm gonna keep using it. And between that and ChatGPT, I think we have some pretty good tools to use to try and figure out some data visualization for this traffic stuff. So that's going to be part one of the stream. Part two of the stream is I want to record a video talking about some economics, talking about the Canadian dollar, talking about the US dollar and what I believe might happen with the currencies going forward. Is a little bit more focused on Canada, but it can also this can also impact the United States, because the US dollar has been kind of taking a little bit of a beating up until recently due to all this tariff stuff. As long as like interest rates in the US stay high, they are going to have a lot of money coming in. But at some point eventually, once things either like the job market slows down to a significant point, or inflation really starts to, well, if inflation kicks in, then rates might stay higher for longer. But specifically jobs and economy worsening and all this stuff, there may be an argument to reduce rates, which in theory should weaken the US dollar, because it will be a less attractive place to lend money to. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to be talking about as well. We're going to record the video about that. And that's kind of the plan for the stream. So let's start off. I'm going to start off with the video because I I don't know exactly how this traffic thing might go. Like, it might be a complete flop. So let's try the video first and get that out of the way. It should take probably about 30 minutes or so. So let's see. See if I can find where I put the script. Here it is. Yeah, let's do this one. You guys still can't see that. Okay. Cool. So I am recording. My mic is getting picked up. I can hear myself. So I'll know my volume. All right. Let's see if I can make some good points on behalf of my boys. My boys. Okay. I'm going to put this right here so that it doesn't look like I'm not looking at the camera. There's a big wall of text here. All right. So, cut here. Start next part. All right. So I've been spending a lot of time reading and following the various things that are happening in the United States over the past couple of months related to the economy, tariffs, bonds, currency, and more. There are so many fascinating pieces recently that we're talking about how gold is having this crazy bull run and how treasuries are no longer viewed as a safe haven asset. There's so much drama going on with trade, with the markets, with all this stuff. I wanted to kind of discuss that, break it down a little bit, and talk specifically about how all of these things are affecting currencies. Some other things that I'm going to cover are talking about Germany's economy, China's EV dominance, and really the globalization of everything that's happening and globalization of macroeconomics, and trying to focus on the entire world, not necessarily just North America and the United States. I've even spent some time recently making videos about economic news on my YouTube channel, and through all of that, I have been learning and doing my best to keep up with recent events. So I wanted to talk about some of what I've learned and maybe help you learn a thing or two as well. Hey everyone, my name's Oliver. I am a guy on the internet talking about economics. My background is in engineering. I'm working towards a CPA, and I hope one day to also be a certified financial advisor, a CFA. So those are my credentials, which aren't many, to be fair. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. The major theme that I want to cover today has to do with the supremacy of the US dollar and how the big tax cut bill that just passed in the United States will affect the US dollar, why gold has been doing so well, and what to expect for the US dollar going forward. I'm also going to discuss how the Canadian dollar will be affected by this sharp downturn in the US dollar, and when might be a good time to consider buying some US dollars if you're a Canadian or abroad, and you see that the American currency is weakening, in my view, temporarily, but I'll get into that a little bit more. So, what does this big, beautiful tax bill mean for the US dollar? I'm going to structure this section in a sort of timeline format. Try that again. I'm going to structure this section in a timeline format for the last 4 to 5 months to discuss what has been going on with the US dollar and everything that is linked to it. So back when Trump wanted to start a war with the world on tariffs in February, various markets began to panic, including the United States. If the US was going to put tariffs on literally the whole world, then every economist's prediction at the time suggested that the US would see a huge hit to their GDP growth and end up in a recession almost without question. It seemed as though there was a new headline every week, and I personally was really beginning to feel the fatigue of this whole trade war thing and all the news stories surrounding it, and how there's always a new news headline about this whole thing. And it can really consume a lot of your time, and it got kind of unhealthy. So I've chilled out a bit recently, trying not to consume so much or take it so seriously. Because people got to live their lives, and there's no point getting swept up in it when you got your own things to do. But it is interesting kind of from a study perspective. Um, so, because nothing was ever the same, every week was something different, and this was a tough environment for a lot of people to do business in, some businesses decided that they would just hold off until things calmed down a bit, and hold off they did. This is one of the worst job markets for graduating students since the 90s in all of North America. And I wouldn't be surprised if, in retrospect, we look back and say, damn, that was even worse than we thought it was, as we see the knock on effects happen in the future. I personally love to advocate for students, even though I graduated in 2023. As I mentioned, I'm still studying, and I have this very crazy outlook in North America that your education should be free because it is a net benefit to society to have an educated society, and invest in the future of your workforce type of situation. Um, some people don't agree with me on that, and that's fine, but I really think we can all agree that forcing students to take on a ton of student debt, even if it's, $10,000, $20,000, can impact what they decide to spend their money on in the future. Um, it seems that as of present day, we've sort of stopped investing in our future, and we're just trying to borrow as much money as we can to make the present good. And we are saying, screw the future. We don't care about that anyway. And I don't think that's a very good society to be living in. Planning and trying to be future focused is always a good thing when it comes to plans for the future, and not doing that is very concerning. So, throughout a bunch of flip flopping on yes tariff, no tariff, tariff pauses, etc., something interesting began to happen in the treasury market. While stocks were falling, the yield on treasuries went up. Now, if you don't really understand how this works, that's okay. I'm going to try my best to explain it. So, a treasury is just a bond from the government. It's an IOU. So, you give the government money and they say, thanks for your money, but we'll pay you back in the future with interest. So, that's basically what a treasury is. And treasuries there are two main kind of components that you need to know, which is the interest rate on the bonds, or the coupon rate. So, this is how much, if you paid $1,000, how much money you will get back. So maybe you'll get 5% back, which would be $50 on the $1,000 per year, just for example. But then you also have the value of the bond. So if I pay $1,000, there might be some fees or whatever, and at the end of the day, maybe that $1,000 that I paid to obtain the bond is really only worth $998 because of all these weird things going on in the market. But if the interest rate, so this is where it becomes a little complicated. Generally, like, let's use the example that's been in the news a lot. When the market falls, so the stock market goes down, people are scared and they will decide to move their money into something safer. And bonds are considered extremely safe because the government will likely never default on their bonds. And the general consensus is that the US government will pay you back. These bonds trade on the open market. And in theory, if there is a lot more demand for the bonds, the yield of those bonds, so the coupon rate that they need to pay in order to sell the bonds onto the market, will go down. So because there are so many people that want this safe asset, the government doesn't have to offer as much interest to get people interested. However, what actually happened for a very short period of time, maybe a couple of weeks, was that people were selling the United States stock market because of all the tariff stuff, and US bonds saw their yields increase, which means people were on net also selling more of those. So rather than selling US stocks and then moving it into US bonds to be safe, they were selling US stocks, moving it into bonds of other countries, moving it into stock markets of other countries, and this was hurting the United States markets on two fronts. And it was, for a moment there, the financial world was mildly freaking out. Obviously, there have been a lot of these kind of little panic moments here and there in the past couple of years, and for good reason. The knock on effects of this could be extremely minor or they could be extremely major. Um, but this all happened due to the uncertainty of the president, inability of the. This all happened due to the inability of the president to commit to literally anything. Investing in the U.S. and keeping money in the U.S. began to be viewed as riskier. Need to take a water break. Phone's going on do not disturb. Okay. All right, I gotta start charging through this. Actually, no, I don't. All right. So let's go back to the other component of bonds that I did not explain properly earlier. So if the new bonds that are issued, let's say that the market rate for a bond right now, like the expectation of people for like a 5 or 10-year government bond, is that they'll be getting 4% interest from that bond. You got your bond at 5% interest, which means there's an extra percentage of interest on that bond if somebody buys it from you, which means that the face value, so the $1,000 or $998 that you paid to obtain that bond, I guess it would be more like $1,002 that you paid to obtain that bond, would have increased in value because it's paying a greater amount. So as interest rates go down, the value that you paid for your bond will increase in order to kind of equalize what people are getting from your bond so that all of the interest rates kind of converge to this market interest rate. So you can sell a bond before the expiration date, let's call it. I don't think it's called an expiration date. What is it called? What is a bond expiration date called? Expiration date name. Maturity date, that's right. So you can sell a bond before its maturity date. So that is kind of the date that you get all of your principal back. You can sell it to somebody else. But as I said, if interest rates on all the other bonds have gone down at that time and you're holding a bond with a higher interest rate, your bond is worth more to the market. So you can get more money and the value of your bond will go up as the interest rate on bonds go down. So what happened was the opposite. The interest rate on new bonds went up because people were fearing that the US government may not be able to pay. And the value that people who held a lot of bonds, their portfolio value, their face value of those bonds dropped. And that was concerning because generally what's supposed to happen is if there's fear in the stock market, people will move to the bond market. And if you have like a 40-60 bond to stock ratio, then you can kind of balance out a downswing in the stock market with an upswing in the bond market. And it's supposed to equalize our portfolio a little bit, or at least that's been kind of the common knowledge of investing for the past 30 or 40 years. Prior to that, it wasn't quite the case, as I heard on a podcast that I listened to a while back. But that's the kind of general consensus of the market, is that having bonds and stocks will balance each other out. In bad stock times, bonds will do better and vice versa. And that wasn't the case this time. So your stocks were falling and your bonds were falling. So naturally, a lot of people who were big asset holders were freaking out a little bit because that was not what they had planned for. And that was all due to this new regime of Mr. Trump going into office and just kind of saying whatever is on his mind that day. Another interesting kind of component of bonds is to to kind of bring the point home about bonds and determining how much interest that a government will pay on those bonds, you can look at countries whose bonds are viewed as very risky right now. So, for example, Ukraine, where there's currently a war happening, a 1 year bond is paying 39% interest right now. And you might say, damn, that's a great deal. But the country's at war and might not even exist in the future, which means that there's a very good chance you will not get your money back. And so for that risk, they have to pay a ton of interest. Meanwhile, contrast that to the United States, the global superpower titan of the world. If they have a risk premium being added to their bonds because of like something some dude said, well, the president, I guess, pretty important dude, that's still pretty crazy. So at the time that I wrote this, the US 30-year bonds at the start of the trade war were around 4.5%. A few months later, they had climbed to almost 5%. This is following that trend that I was talking about how people did not want to buy the bonds, so they had to pay more. As of writing, the bonds have lowered a little bit to 4.82%. I think I wrote this about a month ago. And the stock market has recovered to hit new all-time highs. So all of this, like this whole bond fiasco, yada yada, was a little bit overblown. And Wall Street came up with a great name for what to call this. And they called this the taco trade, or the Trump always chickens out trade, meaning that whatever Trump says, he'll probably backpedal on and probably won't come true. It's tough to say for sure if that will continue, but at the time, that was something that made a lot of sense, and that was like, yeah, this seems to be a trend. However, this lack of confidence in the US and the US dollar is borne out by two major indicators. The dollar index, which is down 10.6% year to date, and gold, which is up 28.41% year to date, again, as of when I wrote this. Much more than the S&P 500. The dollar index simply compares the US dollar's performance to a basket of other major currencies, so you could say that it's underperforming by 10% this year, which is quite a shock if you look at the really strong GDP growth in the United States just before Trump took office. And then you have gold, which is an asset that people flock to in times of uncertainty, and there's a lot of that in our world today. So for many reasons, people are moving to gold, because even if the US dollar loses its value, gold is a hard asset that won't inflate away like a currency can because there's a limited supply of it. Gold will always have this intrinsic value. So these are two things that have been a pretty rough report card for how the world views the current US administration on the bond problem and various other problems, specifically tariffs. So let's come to the present day. Where does this leave the US currency? Well, it's not looking great. The US dollar will likely continue to get weaker, and eventually, when the Fed does cut interest rates and bond yields go down, people will not be as willing to buy US treasuries with a low yield. So in theory, the demand for the currency will also drop, and the revisions and cuts to GDP forecasts should, in theory, also hurt the US dollar because the economy isn't completely outpacing the rest of the world like it was in recent times. However, there are some caveats. However, that being said, I don't particularly see a $1.30 US to Canadian exchange rate happening, because in Canada, and you can extrapolate this to various other nations across the globe right now, we are 100% heading for a recession. And I even wrote in a different article that if not, or in a different video that I posted, if not for our population growth being so high and so skewed in recent years, Canada would have been in a recession around like 2023, 2024. So we are likely already in a recession our number, like our top line GDP number, is just being propped up by so many more people coming to the country, which we have now started to slow the amount of people that we're letting into the country. So we are almost inevitably heading for a recession here. And if you ask people and you talk to normal people, it's hard to find jobs. Employment's getting worse. Like, we're in a tough situation already, and the same can be said for a lot of Western countries. They are having really rough times right now, and we're all kind of heading to the end of this debt cycle where we're heading for a time of reckoning. And with all the tariff stuff happening, there were so many issues kind of already starting to pile on. But now that we have all these extra issues to deal with, it's going to be a long and painful a little while here as people try to figure out their various economies and try to improve them. And, it's going to be a tough time going forward. So here in Canada, our interest rates are lower than the United States. Our central bank set the interest rates to around 2.5% or so. Our oil prices are relatively low, and they're not really expected to rise dramatically. Our economic growth continues to be slow. And even though the US might be shooting itself in the foot, Canada's economy is simply not as strong and was not starting from as strong of a point as the US economy was. However, we have seen that the US to Canada exchange rate has come down from $1.45 to $1.35. So it's possible that $1.30 is in the cards at some point. If we get literally anywhere in the 120s or like low 130s, I think it's probably a reasonable time to purchase some US dollars, because in the long term, I still believe that no country will really be able to dethrone the US dollar as the world's currency. And I read this really great report by Lynn Alden. I've probably mentioned it before, but she wrote this super interesting piece talking about all of the benefits that the US has being the world's currency and how that will help them kind of keep their debt train going and keep them alive for a little bit longer and give them more runway than other countries might have. I don't believe that anyone will be able to dethrone the US dollar, and I believe that capital, brains, and great value generating companies will continue to be born in the US. The US will continue to concentrate global asset growth, and barring the US empire falling completely through like a nuclear war or something, in which case we have bigger problems, I don't think there is much else that can dethrone the US from its current position, at least not on the basis of like competitive merits. I don't know. It is going to take years and years and years to topple the US. It's possible that over multiple decade time horizon that they do get defeated and other countries start to develop their own technologies in competition with the US that are able to have the same global impact that the US has had in recent history. But geographically and so many other things, the US just has this insane level of dominance that is really effectively impossible to compete with because of how much influence they have over the entire world. So just from that perspective, it will be tough for anyone to dethrone specifically the US dollar, but they can always continue to shoot themselves in the foot, and you never know where that might lead. So now we get into something that might cause the US dollar to be a little bit more of a headache in the short to medium term, and that is this big, beautiful bill that was just passed in the US. This bill effectively adds $3.3 trillion to the US deficit after accounting for spending cuts versus tax breaks. So spending cuts means spend less, tax break means make less money. But they're still adding $3.3 trillion to the debt after all is said and done. The total debt of the US right now is currently sitting at around 100% of GDP. And with this new bill, it's likely going to send that much higher to 120 or 130% of GDP over the next 10 years. The interest payments on the US debt, this is crazy, are right now about 13% of the government's budget. 13% is crazy. 13% of all of the money that you're spending, which a lot of it is debt anyway, goes towards just paying off your debt is insane. Lighting 13% of your money on fire is insane. And this will likely increase because all this new debt, at least for the short term, is going to be issued at a higher interest rate than a lot of the long term debt was. Because for the longest time, probably like 10, 15 years right before 2020, interest rates were sitting extremely low. And right now they're higher than they were back then. And at that time, a ton of debt was issued. And now they have to refinance a lot of that debt. And that is going to make this 13% of government spending a little bit higher, which is why adding even more debt is seriously concerning. I created an analogy here, which I thought was quite interesting. If you think of this from a household's perspective, if you're paying, let's just round to 15% of your monthly income just to service your debts, you're likely going to spend a lot less on discretionary items. You're going to buy less luxury items. You're going to save less money for the future. You're going to basically be using a good portion of your budget just to pay down debt. In the case of the government, what this means is that less spending on social services, less spending on infrastructure, roads get worse, transit gets worse, although I'm not sure how that's possible in the US. Everything gets a little bit worse for a lot of people. The quality of life goes down in general. So, as you're squeezing the amount of money that you have to spend on everything else except debt, a lot of services and things will go away. And that is problematic. And a lot of investments will have to go away. And a lot of things that give the competitive edge that the US has will have to either go away or they will have to continue to just print money. And then who knows what will happen. Currency explosion at the end of the day might be in the cards. In addition to that, this debt will be introducing trillions more dollars to the money supply, which is just the money in circulation. And we've seen in the past that printing this type of money leads to inflation. It's just 1 plus 2 equals 3. The US will grow slower and also inflate its currency. So those are kind of the combo risks. Slower growth because you're using so much of your money to pay down debt, and more inflation because you're printing more money and just dumping it into the economy. If there is risk of inflation, the Fed will keep rates high for as long as they can, meaning that the interest on this new debt will become even more expensive. In summary, what I think will happen with this US bill is that we're going to see slow and consistent devaluing of the US dollar, strong and consistent inflation in asset prices. And if you look at other times that the US printed a lot of money, or if you provide wealthy people with a way to save money through tax cuts, the way that the world is set up these days, a lot of the money doesn't really get spent in the economy, but rather it just gets dumped into assets. So if you hold US stocks or real estate right now, I think you can expect to see the value of your holdings increase in the medium term, the next 5 years or so. But at some point, this will hit economic growth and consumer spending, and likely eventually the market will pull back a little bit due to poor performance in various categories. Right now, the S&P 500, it's a concentration of like the top 7 companies, these really big superstar firms that are like the only ones that are profitable right now. So they're the only ones that are beating expectations on earnings. And they're all kind of circulating their money around each other, and there's all this hype built up about AI, and I just don't see that ending well on top of all the other debt and all the other stuff going on in the US. So in conclusion, I don't think that passing this bill will be a positive thing for the US and the US dollar on the whole, but I do also think that it won't be earth-shattering for them. There is a slight possibility that the US might be able to outgrow the speed of the increase in debt, which is one of the arguments that were made. And this possibility is made stronger by AI. But as with anything that has a lot of hype, this feels like a bit of an overinflated asset category right now, and it could end poorly. If companies struggle to prove that they're able to monetize their AI models, or they end up losing a lot of their talent because they think AI can do everything, and it turns out that AI is not as good at certain things that maybe humans are better at. Even with the assistance of AI and the potential growth and productivity gains, I'm not certain it will be enough to make a huge difference in the story of the US debt. It is possible that whoever the next president is reverses these changes and might actually try to rein in the debt. But for the time being, it does appear that the US is on a bit of a collision course with the future. No one can really predict the long term impacts of this. And the US does still have the fact that everybody wants dollars and looks to them for stability. So that likely will not go away. But if you're trying to compare which currency you think will do better in the future, you have to consider one entire economy against another entire economy. And I still believe, despite all the debt in the US, despite all the problems, that they will continue to outgrow economies like Canada, like the EU, and various other economies. They hold these mega global high margin superstar firms, and I just don't see how Lil Bro Canada in the North can compete with that level of dominance and the level of entrepreneurial spirit in the US and the brain drain from Canada to the US. Canadian households on the whole also have much less disposable income than US households do. Canada's household debt to GDP ratio is quite frankly insane. It's at one point during the pandemic was over 200%. I think it's probably closer to like 160 or something now. And it's much higher than the US household to debt GDP ratio, which is crazy to think because like the US consumers, like they don't understand how credit cards work. And Canada still has higher debt. I've seen some insane videos about like people in the US getting themselves into these like crazy amounts of credit card debt and just like not even thinking about it. But we don't have like these super high incomes. We don't have like all this other stuff that the US does that can kind of counteract those issues. Like on the individual level in Canada, people are not able to spur as much growth or spend as much money or take on as much risk as the American counterparts. So I do think in the long term that holding the US dollar to hedge against a decline in the Canadian dollar is probably a reasonably safe bet. Only time will tell, but that is my verdict for the time being. We'll see what ends up happening if there are any significant changes to either the US state of the economy or Canada. Then my strategy may warrant updating. But that's about it. So we'll see what ends up happening with this whole tariff debt printing bonanza, and we'll see if the US dollar continues to be the top of the world. I think it probably will. And I think if there is a decline, that is probably a good time to take advantage of that decline, like there is right now, because as I mentioned, there are still, despite everything, so many factors working in the US's favor that I'm probably a little bit biased as a North American here, but I do think that they have the most robust and strongest potential for growth in the world. So we'll see if the world agrees and if the U.S. currency maintains its dominance going forward. But there are just so many problems in Canada and other economies that make the U.S.'s problems look like so insignificant by comparison. Like we have so much debt, specifically like mortgage debt in Canada, that our consumers, they can't spend money on anything because all of their money is going to rent or mortgage. Like it's insane. People here have no disposable income to spend on anything just because of how things are. So that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments or via email or however you like to send communications over these cables that we call the internet. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right, live stream. We're back. I have exited video making mode. Let's see. So we got a couple of people hopping on, no one dropping comments or anything like that, which is chill. Let's take a quick look at, so now that that's done, we can go back over to this, and there you go. We can have a look at this data set, which I'm super interested about. Maybe I'll get a little bit of background music going again. All right. This music's like super intense. I need like lo-fi music, but it's all probably like copyrighted. All right. I don't know. You guys probably can't even hear that at this point. Okay, that's fine. Can I move this up? No, I can't. Okay. That's chill. All right. So let's take a look at this data set. I have no idea how to use this. Let me just ask ChatGPT. Found a data set on Toronto Open Data about traffic volumes. I want to create a visualization about some of the major routes in Toronto that now have bike lanes, and compare and contrast the vehicle volumes to bicycle volumes on those routes. How would you recommend doing something like this? That's an excellent idea. Thanks, ChatGPT. Always fucking gaslighting me. Comparing vehicles versus bicycle volumes can highlight important trends. I guess there's a lot of people using this thing right now. Active transportation. Clarify the story you want to tell. Well, this is for a live stream. Thanks for thinking about me, though. I plan comparing before and after bike lanes. Looking at year-over-year trends. I think probably year-over-year. Okay. While it does that, I'm going to see how... I'm going to read through this the old-fashioned way and see what it says. Transportation, blah, blah, blah. Data are available in this repository. Full collection of speed, volume, and classification counts since 1993. Two most common types of short-term traffic counts are turning movement counts, speed volume, classification counts. Turning movement count data comprise of motor vehicle, bicycle, pedestrian movements through intersections. Speed volume classification are collected using pneumatic rubber tubes installed across the roadway. I have gone over a few of those in the past. This data is critical input into transportation, infrastructure, program. Motor vehicle count collected over a continuous 24 to 168 hour period at a single location. 2-week counts are also included. Following files. Not all counts have complete speed and classification data. Data are provided for locations and dates only where they exist. Raw data are recorded in 15-minute intervals. Raw data are recorded separately for each direction of traffic movement. Okay. Within each 15-minute interval, speed data are aggregated into approximately 5 km/h increments. Okay. Active wheel type bins, the number of axles, following files showing different views are available. Data dictionary provides a detailed definition of every data field in all the files. So this is like the table of contents. Summary data provides metadata about every count available. peak hour volumes. Okay. Most recent count data available at each location. Raw data. Doing your 15-minute data for a specific count. Identify the count type and count date, then download the raw file associated with the count type and period. If you're looking for volume data for all count types, you'll need to download and aggregate all 3 file types for a given period. I think I want classification, so you're into vehicle type bins. Classification and volume. So this one. Classification system, raw data files are large. So SVC raw data classification. And here are the years. Raw data class for developers. So 2020 to 2024. Here's the CSV. Below are sample code snippets for accessing a dataset via the API. Open data stored in a CCAN instance. To hit our API, I'll be making a request to that. Datasets are called packages. Each package can contain many resources. To get resource data for IDX, resource and enumerate package result resources. For data store active resources, to get all records in CSV format. Print resource dump, to selectively pull records in an attribute level metadata. There's many parameters to get metadata. URL attribute. Let me try just downloading the CSV and then using my new AI friend. All right. I'm gonna try just like dumping. Okay, let's have a look at what the CSV is first, so I can kind of get my bearings. Don't convert. Start time, end time. Okay, cool. So this is what it looks like. So we have ID, count ID, location, longitude, latitude, center line ID, time start, time end, direction, volume, motorbike, cars, pickups, buses, and what are the other classifications? To figure out the classification system. Where is it? FHWA classification reference. Where is that? There it is. Motorcycles. Oh man, where are the bicycles? The whole point of this was bicycles, and they don't even exist. What? Okay. It says bicycles at the top, doesn't it? Am I crazy? Bicycle. Motor vehicle, bicycle, and pedestrian movements. Alright, I guess we're doing turning movement count. Multimodal intersection turning movement count. That is the only mention of bicycle, so I guess we're doing that instead. Okay, let's see. Most recent count. Total bicycle volumes approaching the intersection from each direction. Each turning movement comprised of over 8 non-continuous hours. Continuous 14-hour period after September 2023. Motor vehicle volumes are available for movements through the intersection. Prior to 2014, bicycle volumes were not collected. Data are collected ad hoc as needed basis, and has a comprehensive temporal or geographic coverage. Works best open with GIS software and overlaid with Toronto centerline and intersection file datasets. Limited to Toronto geographical boundary. Alright, let's see. So it says open with a GIS software. I wonder if someone already made something like this. Charts, maps, Python, Tableau, Kepler. When was the bike lane installed? Is there a city initiative? Bike versus car. All right. Finding which streets had bike lanes added, loading, cleaning the data. All right, let's just try. I'm curious what ChatGPT can pull off. So let's do raw data from 2020 to 2029. Then we'll have a quick look at what that looks like. Or maybe not, because it doesn't want to open. Not responding. Okay. Don't convert. The file's not that big. Why is it being so slow? Let's close that one out. Truck, car, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, bus, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, through. Pedestrian and bike. I think peds is pedestrian. North, south approaching, east, west approaching. Okay. So there's the last 4 columns for cycling. So pedestrians. Let's go to Arundel Broadview. Oh boy. Alright, let's find a Bloor Street West at Oakmount. Okay, this is the format. Bloor Street West at Spadina, Bloor, Spadina. Cool. And, oh man. Okay. This is gonna be rough. It's gonna be really rough trying to figure out how to clean this data. Okay, let's go to the end. So 7103 for the bicycles approaching. What year is this? 2022. Oh man, is this all 2022? Oh god, okay. Let's go to the bottom. 2024, Mount Pleasant, Rexdale. Danforth is a good one too. Oh man. Yeah, they really did not specify. Young Street at 401. Oh, Bloor Street at Auckland. Auckland is like pretty downtown, I think. Let's see really quick. Bloor Street at Auckland. I made a maps. Where? And Auckland. Oh yeah, wait. Isn't that? Auckland is in Etobicoke. That's why it sounded familiar. Okay, so that's not super useful. I want like downtown or High Park. Where's my data? There it is. Oh man. Bloor Street. Ossington, still a bit far. Dundas, way too far. Danforth and St. Clair intersect. Ooh, Bay Street and Adelaide Street's not bad. It's actually not bad at all. That's like super downtown. But it's not Bloor Street or Yonge Street, which is like the point I want to try to make here. Shaw Street, they did add some pretty solid bike lanes there. That is still a bit far west of where I would like it to be. Okay, Yonge Street and St. Clair. Yonge Street and Wellesley, those are all good. Bloor Street and Sherburne is good. Ooh, Bloor Street and Church is good. Alright, these are all good. Queen's Park. Yeah. Bathurst and Bloor. Spadina and Bloor. Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff. This is all downtown. Alright, we just gotta kind of pick one though. Oh boy. So 15-minute intervals. Alright, let's just try Spadina and Bloor for 2025, because this would be really interesting to see. Like comparing the bike lanes to no bike lanes. So this is all the bike volumes kind of in the last 4 columns here. And just looking at the last one, it was like much lower. So these are all bike volumes, these are all pedestrian volumes. And then these first ones, I believe, are vehicle volumes, trucks of various kind, etc. So it's actually like pretty close match by the looks of it. Bay and Bloor looks to be even higher for pedestrians, not as high for bicycles because there aren't any bike lanes on Bay Street, or at least I don't think there were at that time. This is very recent data. This is from June. Okay, I like this. I need to find a way to make this useful though. How do we do that? I have no idea. This data set's huge. I have no idea how to do this. Alright. I mean, let me just try and upload it. Hold on. It's probably gonna like freak out, but this thing is 60 megabytes. Probably won't like that very much. In theory, this spreadsheet should be better, so let's try that. Hello. Upload file. Oh, good. That's what I was trying to avoid. This one. Yes, I believe. Which one? Yeah, I need to delete the other one because I will get confused. Okay. Importing. How's ChatGPT doing? Oh, there we go. All right. Here's the data. Can you help? I want to see what the difference. I want to compare the vehicle vehicle and bicycle. Vehicle, bus, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic at the Spadina Ave, Bloor Street, Spadina Road intersection from 2022. It was like COVID was kind of over, but they also changed the way they did the data. Hold on. Data over 8 non-continuous hour or over continuous 14-hour period, 2023 and after, at a single location. I think it should still be useful. From 2022 to 2025, the most recent data available. I don't know how the hell it's going to do this. Best of luck to you. There's just so much data. How's this doing? Oh, it's in there now. Man. Oh, man. Here's what we'll do next. Filter. Group by count, date, or year, and sum all movements to create a time series. Summary. See, this is insane because I literally have no idea how to do this, and if I can just like ask and then it gets done, like what? That's crazy. Let's try this. I'm gonna use the exact same prompt. Hold on. Boop. Dump it in here. I want to compare vehicle, bus, pedestrian, bicycle traffic. They're on board. I don't know. Section 23. Let's see what it does. Looks like the data does not contain any entries. Huh? Oh, that was probably Bloor Street West or something like that. Isn't there? Oh man, okay. I ruined it because I forgot that when you're coding, you need to be like exact about things. So I should have just copied this because this is Bloor Street West. And big L for me. Oh, ChatGPT figured it out. I honestly don't think Claude's going to figure it out. So let me redo this with the right data. Bloor Street West. Okay, found the right column. Trying to understand things and all instances of the intersection. Check the third page to see if the location data appears there. Okay, check the fifth page. Okay. It's all right. It's going to do a lot of processing. Polluting a lot of water with this. Okay. Seems like I can't do local instruction. Here's a script you can use on your computer. If you'd like, you can also generate a time series. Yeah. All right, we'll try the script. Let's see how it goes. Oh boy. That's going to show. All right, nothing that I care for it to show. I wish if you like clicked on a certain side, it would open on that side, but okay. Let me open this in. Let me open this in streaming. Make a new folder for today's stream. August 6th. Chat GPT bicycle data set and USD video. All right, let's open up that file, open folder, streaming, select. All right, we got this. New file. And let's just do like analysis.py. Throw that in there. And let's see. I need the data. I need this. So, oh my god, 276,295. Don't save. I'm going to move it in here. Okay, it's in there. Read the PDF. Location, data frame. So make a data frame. Select the data frame location name that is equal to that. Convert to date, time, and extract year. So count date, extract year. Define relevant columns, car, bus, pedestrian, bike. Group by year. Vehicles. Okay, so it's literally just going to give me the year, which is fine. It's not as detailed as I wanted, but no module found pandas. Great. So pandas. I had a bunch of trouble with my like Python install the other day. Python install. Oh man, last time I tried to do this, I had to manually reinstall it. Okay. We good. No need to worry. Okay, let's run this again. All right. Where's all the years in between? Where are all the years in between? Why is it? Print traffic summary, vehicles, buses, pedestrians, bicycles. Summary vehicles, summary buses, summary pedestrians. Vehicle columns. For data frame columns. Column for column in data frame columns if cars in column. Okay. Well, let's just try doing this. I don't know what I'm doing, but let's see if this does anything. If it does what I think it's going to do. Or if it breaks it. No, it breaks it. Okay. That is not a index. What does dot between do? How do I see the definition? No definition found. I need PyLint. Where are my plugins? PyLint. remember how to do this. Recommended 0. Run Remote Explorer. Settings. Cannot access the extensions marketplace at this time. Okay. Let's go back to ChatGPT then. Cool. Generate code for a can you create a sure, why not? You do a time series line chart. Code only does 2022 and 2025, but not the years in between. Oh no. Is my stream still up? I think so. Let me try again. I think Claude broke. I think Claude broke. Okay. All right. Cool. Is ChatGPT good? Yeah. Use this if you want to show how each transportation mode changed year over year. Nah, dude. Only shows 2022 and 2025, but not the years in between. Dude, there's no way. I swear I saw 2023 data. I'm pretty sure. I'll just print it here. Print. Run that again. DF filtered is not defined. Value counts. DF year. Will we try that again? Really? There is no data for those years? That seems wrong. If I do from 2020. The heck? Those are the only years they did the studies? I guess that sort of makes sense, as it was saying. We're only, like, the data only goes up to like June 2026, so that So halfway through 2020, which it doesn't really do a good job of showing here, but halfway through 2025, we're pretty close to the 2022 number at that intersection. You can kind of see the vehicle counts are pretty much half, and pedestrian counts are pretty much half. A lot more buses, though. Interesting. What else can we do? Okay. To highlight shifts in mode share, I need a note that 2025 is only till June. It's only half of 2025. Can you make a note that 2025 was only until June? So half the year compared to 2022. To highlight shifts in mode share, the relative share, traffic types changed. Yeah. Yeah, sure. A version showing both actual and projected 2025 values would be cool. I still haven't made the chart, so help me with doing that. Let's see, how dumb can I be? Annotation. Oh, baller. It's gonna do it. Alright, we're gonna use matplotlib. Assuming traffic summary already exists. Full index, traffic summary re-index. Okay. Let me just, I guess, copy this stuff. Traffic summary marker. All this stuff is just charting. Add a footnote. Let's try it. So I think it's assuming that I already have some of the data. So this is charting code. This one I can get rid of now. So we do have traffic summary re-indexing. Honestly, I don't really want 2024, 2023 anymore, but just because I don't want to mess with it too much. Let's see. Plot not defined. Great. All right. Let's do that. Oops. Okay. Oh, man. I really don't have any libraries installed, huh? Okay. Let's try again. That's an interesting result. Okay. That's okay. This is the result. This really does not tell me anything. I think I need a bar chart or something. And we really need to exclude 2023. Can you make everything bar charts with only the three x-axis items? 2022, 2025 until June, and 25 full year projected. Okay, now we're using NumPy. Let me see if I have pip. I don't remember how to do this. God damn it. Create a comparison data frame. Reorder. Bar chart. Plot each. Okay, 4 colors. Axes, annotations. Let's see, maybe that'll be better. Much better. This is really interesting, actually. Okay, now we have a useful chart. So the reason I say this is really interesting is because if you look at 2022, the vehicle volume was about 50,000. Buses are negligible, which is fine. Actually, maybe not fine. But vehicle volume is 50,000, and our projected 2025 vehicle volume is exactly the same. And there were no bike lanes in 2022, I don't believe. When were the Bloor street bike lanes installed? Starting with the pilot project, lanes were made permanent in 2017. Oh, never mind. Further extensions were complete in 2021. The bike lanes are further extended Runnymede to Aberfoyle and then Resurrection. And we're from Shaw Street to Runnymede. It makes the cycle tracks permanent. Let's see. Okay. Bloor Street bike lane project was approved in May 2016. Pilot project allowed the city to demonstrate study of Bloor. Extensive monitoring evaluation was carried out. more people are cycling with 56% increase after install. I mean, that tracks. Bloor Street from Avenue Spadina to Shaw Street. Install and evaluate a bikeway. Reconstruction of Bloor Street was completed. Okay, so in 2020, the section that I'm looking at, which is right here on Spadina Road, was already done, which is good to know, but it's still interesting because what I find really, really cool is that the number of cars projected to travel through here is about the same as it was in 2022, but the number of bicycles is going to double, and there's more people walking. This might go down because of winter, but who knows. But in theory, the number of bicycles that travel through here, so now that people know, and I think this shows kind of the network effects of improved bicycle infrastructure throughout that neighborhood, because this number is probably low because a lot of areas in that neighborhood probably didn't have like improved bike lanes or accessibility of bike lanes, but now that there are, like, the numbers will have effectively doubled. Meanwhile, car vehicle traffic has been unaffected, so people who drive through there kind of already know what to expect. I am now curious to go back and see if there was data from... No, there was no data from 2020. We already did that. So I'd have to download a new chart to see what it was before. I don't really feel like doing that. Okay, let's rename this. Analysis 2020, 2029. And let's kill this. It was very interesting. And then we can duplicate. Rename. And make it 2010 to 2019. And then we can update this. 10 to 2019. Then we can update this. 2019. And we can make all of this hidden for now. Let's see. 2010 to 2019. So we have that. Now I just need the data. Download 54 megabytes. So we have the data. Now I need to move it into the folder. All right. We have the next data set. There it is. Oh, Lord. Cool. Okay, let's run this analysis just first to see what years they did testing. So 2012. Wow. 20,000 vehicle counts. 0 bicycles. Oh, right, because they didn't start counting bicycles. I was since 2014. Interesting. 24 buses? I wonder if this was construction, so like you couldn't really, because they were approved, the bike lanes were approved like between 2017, like around 2017 sometime. And they probably started construction from here to like 2020. So yeah, people probably weren't riding their bicycle through there, but people could still drive their cars through there. Fewer people walking. Yeah. I guess this is still interesting if we can chart it. Let me see. Can I do this myself? traffic summary. Oh, let's do 20. I want to do 12 because there's no. Let's do 2013. Actually, let's do like after the bike lanes or like right around the bike lanes. No, this is still good. Okay, 2013. 2017. 2018. Let's get rid of that. And 2019, and then we can update all of this. 13, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so we have all of that. 13, 17, 18, and 19. Come on. Okay. Bar chart, bar width, 1, 2, 3, 4, loop, axes, 20, 10 to 2019 available data, mode of transport, note, bike lanes were under construction from 2018 to 2020, let's just say. I don't know how accurate that is. Pilot project in 2016 found positive economic impacts, increased number of customers, increased customer spending. People back to walk spent more per month than those who drove or took transit. Yeah, because people driving are just driving through, not stopping most of the time. Blah, 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 reported. Pilot project, extensive monitoring, pass the Bush Street Bike Lane project evaluation. Desired outcome of the project, following a sense of city approved. 2020 reconstruction was completed. Average cyclist volumes on Bloor Street between Shaw and Bay increased by approximately 49% from 3,300 rides per day in June 2016 to approximately 4,900 rides per day in June 2017. Okay, so my data is already so inaccurate just because of the way that it's measured. Because I'm pretty sure multimodal intersection turning movement counts. Motor vehicles, total bicycle volumes approaching the intersection from each direction. I don't know how accurate this is, honestly. This kind of sucks. My data's really bad. If there's 3,300 per day back in 2016, this data is complete bung. Like, it's useless to me. If it thinks, like after doing the analysis, if it thinks there are only 1,600, 1,700, yeah, now that I think about it, this is an insanely low number. Like even 8,000 bicycles is like insanely low. There's 1,000 a day. There's 200,000 so far on a certain part of Bloor Street that I was talking about earlier. I don't know why I didn't use that as my benchmark. Okay. So yeah, this data is not useful for what I need it for. Unless they're in like these numbers wouldn't be in thousands. That would be 7 million. That's way too many. Okay. I no longer have faith that what I'm doing is worth anyone's time. Oh man. Well, let's see. Maybe there is something useful. Let's see if we can find bicycle parking, bicycle cordon count. Bicycle count and locations. September 10 bicycle counts. Bicycle cordon count. Ooh, yeah. Yes. Okay, this is it. This is gonna be fucking. This is exactly what I was looking for. This will be cool. Detector locations, daily counts. Permanent counts daily. Bloor Street. Quality gold. Nice. Daily counts. Bloor Street west of Castle Frank, probably. There's a bike counter in 1994. Oak Mount. Okay, I actually do want to see that. The permanent locations. First active, last active. Damn, these ones are really old. Up to 2019. I think it's probably Oak Mount. Between Palmerston and Markham, Huron and Spadina. Really? I've never seen that one before. Okay. So 3 and 4 is kind of the one that I'm most interested in. But I think we could probably do all of them. That might be too many, honestly. I want to do 3 and 4. Eastbound and westbound. Permanent counts. Daily. I guess I'll try this one. When was it last updated? July 8th. Permanent counts daily. It really is daily, huh? And it was about to be a lot more data. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. These are the newer ones. These are the ones I want. West of Castle Frank. How about this one? Oak Mount. So this starts in June. These are honestly like kind of lower than I was expecting. In 2024, where's June? Okay, we got a day at 1,000 in May. Couple more days at 1,000. Another one. Then it definitely drops below. Okay, how about this year? What do we have from this year so far? We only have to March. Yeah, this was that like snowstorm. That was a snowstorm from this year. And I know people want to make the argument that like this is why you still need like car infrastructure, but nobody was going anywhere on these days. Like I think it was like shut down for a couple of days too. Okay. Well, I don't think this is really going anywhere. I need like I want to make something out of this, but there's so much data processing. Okay, let me do this, and then let me give it the locations that I want. I want this one. Can you make code that will count each year's bicycle volumes at the following locations? This one? Oh, did it do that? Bloor Street between Huron and Spadina. Sure. Only between 2020 and 2025. Oh, I guess that's it. I meant to do a few more, but we'll just do that. I do want Palmerston and Markham, though. It was 2020 when it retired. This one retired in 2021. I guess it's fine if it retired. I'm just curious about Bloor Street. So all the counters are Bloor Street West. There's no counters on Danforth, which would probably go super crazy, honestly. Alright, let's try this. Let's make a new one. Daily bike count dot py. Activate 20 to 25, intersection of interest, location, yearly, location, year, daily total, sum, unstack. Okay, that should be pretty easy. Error date. Date, PD2, date frame. Key error. What am I missing? Oh. What column do we have? What is it called? DT is what it is called. I guess I should find and replace probably. Year, do we have a year column? Extracting year, location name. Daily volume. This one. Year. Hopefully that just sorts itself out. Damn. Okay. I thought Bushy USD Huron. I thought it had like a. It did retire, but oh, they don't have. I guess that's gone now. That's probably why I haven't seen it. Weird. Okay, but the data on the one that's still going is pretty cool. Let's try this one. Let's add this to the mix. Oh, this is much easier now because I can just plop in another one. So we had 73,000 last year. Now we're up to 54,000 this year, halfway through the year. These 2025 numbers is only until March. So 20,000 up till March. almost 400,000 people in 2024. Wow. How many cars? How many cars per day on Fuller Street West near Oakmount? Average daily vehicle volume is around 20,000 vehicles. Wow. That is a number. You really don't realize just how many cars there are. The area between Runnymede, the volume remained constant before and after the complete street extension project. Average of 18,000 vehicles per day. Bloor Street West complete extension. Oh, wow. Travel times saw an increase, the most pronounced for eastbound travel and peak periods. So heading into the city, 2.2 minutes eastbound, 4.4 minutes in the westbound. Average 14-hour two-way volumes from 70 to 750, 3 to 830, depending on location. Bicycle volumes increased by approximately 60%. Vehicle volumes remained relatively consistent before and after, decreasing by less than 1% on average. 18,000 trips in both directions, but were the bike lanes already there and they just like upgraded them, or are they new bike lanes? Aberfoyle, Resurrection. By the Phase 2 installation, new cycle track intersection safety improvements were added and one motor vehicle lane in each direction was removed. Aha. This must, like, this has to change at some point now. 18,000 trips over 24 period. Wow. Is there, okay. I like this data set. I'm going to save it over here. Data set. And I'm gonna look for vehicle counts. Traffic volumes, multimodal, no, not turning. Vehicle speed, volume, and classification. All available vehicle volume. But we don't have like a vehicle counter per se. So if I go back to, I think the other like data set for vehicles was probably a bit better. Yeah. Raw data class, raw data volume. Like I would care about the vehicle volumes, but I would care about them for 2025. Let's see. Don't convert. Okay. So these are in 15-minute increments. That's at like midnight. So like 9 a.m. we got 15. It's a weekend probably. Oh man. Gardiner East and Spadina. Don Valley. These all highways. Lakeshore, Birch. How about Bloor Street or something? Gladstone, St. Lawrence, Trolley to King Street, Front Street. These are all like super downtown. Okay, that's not super useful. Type of vehicle. Raw data, probably class. I guess what I downloaded already and then deleted. Lucky me. It is the biggest. Oh, actually, this one's way bigger. Alright. I think I'm over this now. I've been doing this for like an hour. Probably more than an hour. That was kind of interesting though. I feel like I learned something. I do like this bicycle thing though. Let me make a chart. Can I just steal this? Sort of. Steal this idea? Charting. Let's try this. Steal it. Chart. And we need pandas. We also need numpy. Import numpy as np. I also need matplotlib. Oops. Okay. Let's just do like 2020. How many years do we have? 2022 to 2025. Okay. 2022, 3, 4, 25. 3, 4, 5. So there's only... Yeah, this is going to get confusing. So I just have the year, the location, and then the data, which is different. So I don't even have this traffic summary. All right, hold on. Can you help me plot the data points the years with each street location and the bicycle counts at that location in a series of bar charts. One bar chart per location, years. Yeah, that is what it looks like. I should wait till it's done. Oh, is it that easy? I say, is it that easy as if I know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay. For location and yearly bike counts index. Okay. Does this make chart? Yes, it does. Now, why is it one location though? Oh, if it does a loop, it'll give me the next one, right? Yeah. Here's the next one. It's gonna loop again and give me the last one. And data for 2025 is incomplete. You can change color to any color. Some years are missing. There should be blank. You want to save charts, add this inside the loop. Okay. Save charts. What did I want? Can you make a note on the chart that 2025 data is incomplete? Ideally placed just below the 2025 bar. If 2025 data index cool. Oh, there goes my camera. And you know what? It's probably just in time. Let me finish this and then I will get out of here. So we have this stuff. Height. That. Actually, that went here. Cool. And then this. Beautiful. Look at that. 2025 data is incomplete. How nice is that? Wow. Gorgeous. All right, y'all. I'm going to call it there. thanks for checking out the stream. I know you can't see me, but hopefully that was kind of interesting. I want to make something out of this. We'll see. I probably won't, but maybe there'll be a short video or something showing this stuff. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Now I have charts I can just like quickly look up and compare and contrast daily bike counts. And if I could include that somehow in like a global positioning system, that'd be cool too. All right, that's all for now. I'm doing my bike packing trip soon, so I'm going to have to plan for that and do some apartment cleaning and stuff. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. This might be the only time I stream this week. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it again tomorrow if I have time, but I think I will probably be busy. So, all right. See ya in a week or so.